All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, I remember around 2004, 2005, that time period when Manny Pacquiao first burst onto the boxing scene on a nationwide scale as a champion. When he was having classic fights against Marco Antonio Barrera, Eric Morales, Juan Manuel Marquez, I remember viewing him as being the most exciting fighter in boxing. Nowhere near the best, but definitely the most exciting, because he was willing to risk it all in every last one of his fights, and he had dynamite power, especially in his left hand. Now, later on down the line, as he became a better fighter, a better boxer, he developed power and precision in his right hook. But while he was in the lower weight classes, he was pretty much a one-trick pony who depended on his athleticism and his foot speed, as well as his hand speed and power, to try to get his opponents out of there. And he was relatively successful. He got better as a fighter. He was able to magically move up in weight and also maintain his power in the lightweight division. And then he moved to welterweight. And I remember in the aftermath of Floyd Mayweather retiring in 2007, when in 2008, they started to talk about Manny Pacquiao fighting Oscar De La Hoya at 147. And they were actually going to meet, I believe, at a catch weight. I'm trying to remember if they met at a catch weight or if the limit was the welterweight limit. If I'm wrong about that, one of you brothers, please correct me, but I believe they met at a catch weight of 145 in the welterweight division. Either way, whether it was 145 or 147, Oscar De La Hoya had not fought at welterweight for about 9 years. But magically, for some reason, he was willing to come all the way down to 147 or 145 to fight Manny Pacquiao, when he previously made Floyd Mayweather come all the way up to 154 to challenge him for his title. So that was the moment when I first realized that something may have been riding in Denmark. Not necessarily just with Manny Pacquiao, but simply from a macrocosmic perspective when we're talking about the business of boxing. Certain fighters are provided with certain favors that other fighters are not. It was what it was. Oscar De La Hoya basically came in as a dead man that night, and that was the coming out party for Manny Pacquiao as being considered the best fighter in the entire sport. His next fight, I believe, was against Ricky Hatton, who Floyd Mayweather had also knocked out. And it was when he signed to fight Ricky Hatton that I realized what he and Bob Arum were doing. They were basically trolling Floyd Mayweather's career and trying to build a name for themselves off of the back and the accomplishments of Floyd Mayweather. And clearly Floyd Mayweather noticed it as well. Because as soon as Floyd Mayweather decided to come back, what did he decide to do? He knew that eventually he was going to have to fight Manny Pacquiao. I believe that he wanted to fight Manny Pacquiao in December of 2009. So what he decided to do was to pick the fighter who Manny Pacquiao had engaged in a disputed decision against, that being Juan Manuel Marquez, fight him, totally dismantle him, so that when he was to approach the bargaining table with Manny Pacquiao's team, they would not have that edge over him of saying, we beat your opponents better than you beat them. Now, Floyd Mayweather could come to the bargaining table and say, look, I beat the hell out of Juan Manuel Marquez. You had a couple of disputed decisions against him. So don't bring up De La Hoya and Ricky Hatton. But a funny thing happened on the way to the market. Floyd Mayweather's father decided that he was going to accuse Manny Pacquiao of using performance-enhancing drugs. Why did he do that? Who knows? Allegedly, Michael Moorer, former heavyweight champion and associate of Freddie Roach, the head trainer of Manny Pacquiao, came to Floyd Mayweather Sr. and told him that he had inside information that Manny Pacquiao was using performance-enhancing drugs, allegedly. Everything I'm saying in regards to that is alleged, okay? Floyd Mayweather Sr. had no problem believing that because he was still bitter at the way in which Pacquiao had dismantled his two other boxing proteges, that being Oscar De La Hoya as well as Ricky Hatton. Floyd Mayweather Sr. actually happened to have been in Ricky Hatton's corner on the night that Manny Pacquiao basically not only knocked Ricky Hatton out, but ended his career for good. And it was very difficult for Floyd Mayweather Sr. to accept that Pacquiao was the better fighter that night. Why is that? Because Floyd Mayweather Sr. has always had a rivalry with Freddie Roach, who was the trainer in the other corner. So all of these dynamics came into play in the negotiations for Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao. And when Floyd Mayweather Jr. decided that he was going to listen to his father's admonishments and say to himself, you know what, I'm going to take these accusations pertaining to Manny Pacquiao using performance-enhancing drugs very seriously. I'm going to ask him to take a fully random blood and urine test. And of course, Manny Pacquiao denied that test, as did his team. Supposedly, they did not want Floyd Mayweather to have an edge leading up to the fight. Manny Pacquiao claimed that he was scared of needles, even though he has a multitude of tattoos all over his body. It was okay because Bob Arum has strategically placed plants in the media who are willing to dispense whatever disinformation he wanted them to dispense to the masses. And that's the reason why it took so long for that fight to take place. And now basically, almost 10 years later, I think that people are able to understand the situation with a greater deal of clarity, even though most still deny why that fight never happened at the time that they wanted it to happen. I think that in the aftermath of the Mikey Garcia situation with Bob Arum, as well as many other fighters who have left the Bob Arum stable, it's far easier to see, including Manny Pacquiao himself, by the way, who is now signed to Al Haymon and loves Al Haymon because Al Haymon knows how to treat his fighters. I think that people who have a certain level of cognitive function and intelligence are now able to discern why that fight never happened when it should have. But it ended up being for the best for both fighters because they both made 9 figures on the night that they actually decided to fight, as opposed to the $25 million 50-50 split that each fighter was supposed to get had they fought in 2009. As we all know, they fought in 2015. Floyd Mayweather dominated the fight. Manny Pacquiao and his fans used the excuse of having a bum shoulder. As we all know, Floyd Mayweather has always given almost immediate rematches to every fighter who has claimed that they felt like they beat him the first time. Whether it was Jose Luis Castillo or Marcos Maidana, Floyd Mayweather has never shied away from a rematch against a fighter who really thought that he beat Floyd the first time. And it appears as if he's going to give a rematch to Manny Pacquiao. Now, when Floyd Mayweather had that exhibition against Tenshin Nasukawa on December 31st of 2018, I did a preview video for that bout, and I told brothers that that fight was going to be preparation for Manny Pacquiao. After Floyd Mayweather sparked that little dude in under 30 seconds, a lot of naysayer cats jumped in the comments and said, "You were wrong about the whole thing," because Floyd Mayweather said after the fight that he's not going to fight Manny Pacquiao. But you can never trust what Floyd Mayweather says about what he has planned, because he believes in throwing up as many smoke screens as possible so that people cannot predict what he's going to do, because Floyd Mayweather understands that whenever a so-called black man has big plans, people want to disenfranchise him or destroy those big plans. So he's intelligent in that way. Now, I did a series of videos on Floyd pertaining to Luciferianism, and I stated very clearly that I knew that the Mayweather versus Pacquiao fight was finally going to happen for a couple of reasons. The number one reason being that Floyd Mayweather's friend, I believe his name is Earl Hayes, supposedly killed his woman and himself right before that fight was cemented. That was the sacrifice that Mayweather needed in order to verify within his own mind that he was going to be victorious in the bout. Also, Mayweather and Pacquiao had a ceremony, a ritual, at the halftime of a Miami Heat game, which they recently replicated at the halftime of an LA Clippers game. So that's how I know this rematch is going to happen. And there are a couple other reasons why I know this rematch is going to happen. Floyd Mayweather knows that this rematch pretty much is going to happen, and he's showing you in a very ritualistic way. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
We're one step closer to Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao 2, and this is the video proof. Welcome to TV Sports. Evan here with Michael J. Babcock.
What's up, Evan?
Yeah, Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, for the second time, got face-to-face at a basketball game.
Now, for those of us who know what we're looking at, you know that whenever a high-level Luciferian or quote-unquote Mason adorns himself with an orange hat or an orange covering for his head, he's telling you that he's engaging in a ritual, because the color orange represents the sun. The sun represents illumination to the 33rd degree, or the enlightening of the quote-unquote pineal gland. Always watch for the so-called orange hat that the Luciferians wear.
In the wake of rumors that they're going to fight each other. And the last time that this happened was in 2015 at a different basketball game in Miami, where they came face-to-face on the floor at a basketball game, and then they did fight each other.
That was the catalyst for the negotiations to ramp up in the fight to actually be made, and then, the rest is history.
So this is the footage in 2015 at the Miami Heat game, when all there was rumbling about the fight. Floyd went across the floor and talked to Manny. They shook hands. They traded cell phone numbers, and then a couple of months later, the fight was on, May 2015.
Yes, all of that was a ritual that had to be played out publicly, because Manny Pacquiao had to understand how Floyd was approaching the fight ritualistically. They're both Luciferians. It's just that Floyd has a higher level understanding than Pacquiao does. So Floyd is able to dictate to Pacquiao how the ritual is going to proceed.
Last night in Los Angeles, the Staples Center at the LA Clippers game, it happened again. Floyd was in his seats on the floor. Manny came over. They talked to each other. They shook hands. They chatted it up. And now again, there's a lot of talk that we're one step closer to seeing the rematch here.
It's deja vu, Evan. Manny Pacquiao has made it very clear that he wants the rematch.
Look at Pacquiao begging like a bitch for a rematch. Please, Floyd, give me a rematch, please. I owe Filipino government taxes. Please help me.
The rematch with Floyd, he felt like he was injured the first time. He felt like he didn't put his best effort out there, and he wants this to happen.
Manny Pacquiao don't give a shit about his best effort. His record is 60 wins, 7 losses, 2 draws. Manny Pacquiao is on a level of fighter where he's purely an entertainer and that nobody cares if he loses the fight. If Manny loses the fight, he's still Manny Pacquiao. Floyd Mayweather's image is based in the pristine, meaning he's perfect. That's why so many of these jealous-ass fanboys in the comment section that still talk about how Floyd is ducking Canelo and ducking this person and that person. He's 42 years old. But why are people still claiming that Floyd Mayweather is ducking fighters? Because his image is that he's unbeatable. So they don't recognize Floyd Mayweather as somebody who can get old. That's why they make the excuse that Floyd Mayweather waits for fighters to get old, when 90% of the time he's older than the fighter that he's fighting. Like, for example, they claim that Floyd Mayweather beat Oscar De La Hoya when he was old. Oscar De La Hoya was 34 years old. Floyd Mayweather was 30. They were both in the same age range. But Floyd Mayweather is held to such a high standard and has been pretty much for the last, I would say, 12 to 15 years. That they're showing you without showing you how they view him when it comes to the hierarchy or the understanding of boxing.
We've talked to people who are close to Floyd, and we've also heard that Floyd wants the fight to happen.
Now, as a matter of fact, you mentioned both sides really wants it to happen so badly. Floyd was in Vegas for most of the day yesterday until he got into his private jet and decided, I'm going to go to Los Angeles. So in the afternoon on Tuesday, he got into his private jet.
Have the orange hoodie up to let you know how it's really going down. Once again, everything that I say is not for everybody. But for people who understand many of the ritualistic aspects of how things are accomplished in the entertainment industry and how important it is to go step by step in honoring their quote-unquote God, they understand the significance of the orange hat or the orange topping to their head. They're showing you that they're illuminated. That's all Floyd is showing you right there. And that this whole thing is a ritual. They have to go step by step to make it happen. The fight is eventually going to happen, in my view.
Flew to Los Angeles specifically to go to the Clippers game where he knew Manny Pacquiao was going to be because it was Filipino Heritage Night and Manny Pacquiao was touted to be there. He was promoting his fight with Adrian Broner.
He was their guest of honor.
And then right after the game, Floyd Mayweather gets back in his plane and goes back to Vegas.
Yeah.
The only reason he was there was to see the game, and the Clippers aren't doing that.
Right, no disrespect to the Clippers, but like the Clippers-Hornets game is not the most attractive NBA game out there. That speaks so loudly. It speaks volumes.
So
And he
I agree.
traveled all the way here for that.
You couldn't be more right. I think that this was a promotional stunt by Floyd. He knew that people, if he got thick.
No, it was not a promotional stunt. It was a ritual by Floyd. That's all this is a ritual. They have to go according to the certain steps to build up to the fight. Every time you watch a sporting event, it's in veneration of Baal or Asar. That's where the sporting event comes from. In antiquity, it stated that boxing or the martial arts were invented by Mars, also known as Merodach, the rebel. That's where the term Mars comes from. Mars is the god of war. Okay? So the martial arts, the term martial comes from Mars, were invented by Asar, teaching men how to engage in combat, whether armed or unarmed. Also teaching men the art of horsemanship, things of that nature. All of those things come from Asar, or at least are credited to him, particularly in the post-diluvial world.
Face-to-face with Manny Pacquiao, people will be talking about this fight again. Like I said, a couple of months ago, they met face-to-face. They were out partying together, and they ran into each other, and they started to talk. They wanted to get that fight going. We've been hearing from our people, see right here, that they want to get the fight going. You saw Floyd in the ring on New Year's Eve against Tension.
Look at Manny Pacquiao. And like, Floyd, why you yell so much? Why you talking to me like that? I just come here because you told me to come here at this time. Why you so mad?
Tension Nasukawa, and even though that fight was a dud, Floyd proved that he's still in great shape. He's still moving quick.
No, Floyd did not look in great shape in that fight. As a matter of fact, he looked about 15 pounds overweight, but that's okay. His hands did still look fast, but you can't tell by a 20-second clip in an exhibition match against a little boy who was woefully overmatched. I mean, come on.
Quick, he's still fast. Manny Pacquiao fights Adrian Broner on January 19th.
And Pacquiao has looked good in his last couple fights. The question is the excitement there? I remember the excitement, the feeling we got in 2015 when we saw them on that basketball court together. Yeah. Is the interest there this time to see them get back into the ring?
Pacquiao can knock out Broner, and after the footage of Floyd back in the ring with tension, I think it's enough to get a good promotional campaign going to see Floyd Manny 2. The question now is, who's going to watch? Are you going to watch?
I will watch. I believe Manny is an all-time great. I think he can get in there and he can do work against Floyd.
I'm just hoping that Manny can finally knock that nigger out so I can go to sleep at night and sleep soundly. Please, Manny, just knock that nigger out.
I'll buy the fight. I'll watch.
Yeah, me too.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. We'll see how things go. I do believe that eventually they are going to announce that fight has been made, particularly if Manny Pacquiao is able to defeat Adrian Broner. So peace.